I get a lot of comments and questions about Asheville from people who are thinking about moving here. And I always find it so fun to tell my story and tell people about how I found Asheville and what my experience has been so far. It can also help you to see, with a little bit of faith in the process and some determination, you can find your home in a hot market like Asheville. Hi, I'm Beth Schadler with Tried and True Realty, powered by eXp, and we are living in Asheville, where we explore what it's like to live, eat, sleep, work, play in Asheville, North Carolina, and the surrounding mountains. And it's my passion and my pleasure to help people move to the area, so we get calls all the time from people who are considering it, so feel free to reach out. Send us a text, shoot us an email, whatever your heart desires. Anytime, we'll be glad to help walk you through the process or just explore the possibility. And if you'd like to learn more about Asheville in general, hit that subscribe button. Click that little bell. You can do it. That way you'll be alerted every time we make a new video for you. Okay, so here's my story. When asked to move somewhere centrally located in the Southeast for a sales job that I had, everyone told me that I needed to move to Asheville. Now, didn't know anything about Asheville, but I did know that it was not centrally located, but everyone I ever met said, Beth, you would love Asheville. You got to go to Asheville. So I was like, okay, let's go check it out. Now, I had never been to Asheville before in my life, but I thought, hey, let's do it. So I met up with a girlfriend and we came to Asheville for the weekend and we had an absolute blast. I was sold immediately. And I don't need to go through all the reasons why, because there's other videos that I've made that talk all about why Asheville is awesome. But I just knew it was home from the get-go. So I got to work, I put out some feelers and found a roommate, and I just moved into the first opportunity that I had. I rented an apartment through a property management company called Leslie & Associates, and what's funny is I lived in a really, really nice area of Asheville on Kimberly Avenue near the Grove Park Inn. It was an old apartment complex. I think it was built like in 1910, and it was really kind of funny because like it wasn't in bad shape, but it wasn't like super nice. And the rest of the street is like over $1 million plus homes. And it overlooks the Grove Park Inn's golf course, which is really prestigious. And there I was, like making pennies at the time, living with a roommate in an apartment, but surrounded with the historic wealth of the area. Now, I would have lived anywhere. I was just happy to be in Asheville and having a new adventure. I quickly learned that roommates were not my cup of tea, as I had graduated from graduate school and matured enough to kind of need my own space. So I figured I wanted to start thinking about buying a home. And instead of paying someone else's mortgage, I wanted to start building some equity and paying my own mortgage. Plus, I wanted to have a garden and develop some routine of being in Asheville and be able to work on home projects. So I started looking for homes to buy. And at the time, and it's kind of funny now, but at the time I was like, I can't afford anything in Asheville. I'm kicking myself now because this is 2001, 2002. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to look right outside the city limits in Candler, which is just west. And I had a friend that lived in Candler, so I was kind of out there a lot, and I knew the area a little bit. And one day I was driving by this home, and I saw a home for sale. And they answered the door, and my immediate feeling, when I walked into the home, was like, oh, I should take my shoes off. And they're like, no, you don't have to take your shoes. I'm like, I'll take my shoes off. Anyway, that just means that it had a nice feeling. It felt good and clean. And I did a quick impromptu tour with the owner of the home. And I thought it was so sweet and clean and just really nice. And it had a really good feeling to it. It was on a half acre, even on a corner. And it just felt roomy and nice, but perfect size, about 1,100 square feet for me living alone. It took about 12 to 15 minutes to get downtown. And it was my own little piece of heaven. Now, it was a for sale by owner. This woman had put a sign out in her yard, but she happened to have a real estate license. So she was not an active real estate agent, but she still had her license. And she's like, I can handle the whole transaction myself. You don't need to get a buyer's agent at all. And I was like, this is the first time I had ever bought a house in my life. And I'm alone here, my parents are somewhere else. Nobody's holding my hand through this at all. In hindsight, this worked really well to her advantage. She was able to avoid paying a buyer's agent to represent me, so I had no representation at all. And to bring her a buyer, I brought myself. So typically how it works right now, and this could change in the future, but the cost of the fee for the real estate agent that brings a ready, willing, and able buyer to a property is built into the price of the home. So usually it's the seller that absorbs the cost and factors it into the net profit that they receive of the sale of their home at closing. Well, this woman is really smart because, she had a real estate license and she didn't have to pay herself, of course, and she didn't have to pay a buyer's agent because I just kind of walked up to the property. And she still had a market price that was reflective of the market. So she was getting a little bit more than she would. So now, without representation, I had no fighting chance when it came to negotiations. But I wanted that house, and I loved it. It was just so light and airy and had such good feeling with it. And so I said, I don't know, would you, we'd be willing to work with me on the price at all? And could I offer, I can't remember how much less. And she's like, no, we really need to get this much for the house. And so I'm just like, okay, well, they really need to get this much. So I didn't make an offer. And I went home to Kentucky, and I remember like hanging out with my parents. I think I was there a week, and I just thought about this house, and I was like, oh my gosh, I made a mistake. I did not make an offer. Why? And it just kept weighing on me. And so I called her up, and I was like, listen, I'll just give you what you want. I'll just give you full asking price. And she wrote up all the paperwork. I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know what a contract looked like. I just signed it. I would not advise this at all. This was not smart. I was not guided correctly. I don't even think I did inspections. Now that I think about it, I don't think I did any inspections. I had no negotiations at all. I had no one on my team guiding me at all. It was the first time I had ever bought a home. She even chose the closing attorney, so I didn't even have an attorney that I chose. Now, luckily, everything went okay. And it ended up being a wonderful home that I enjoyed for 12 years. I built a fence around it, I added a deck and a hot tub and new flooring and planted so many flowers and made so many memories, built a big fire pit of stone and just really made it special. And if I could do it all over again, I wish I would have been represented because, it's smart. And keep in mind, I was a preferable candidate to buy this home because she didn't need to pay anyone to represent me. And this could have turned out totally different. It could have been horrible. Buying a home is a big investment. It's a good investment, but it's a big investment. And there are lots of things that can happen between the first viewing of a property and the closing date. Anything from foundation problems to lender and financing issues that need to be navigated to drainage problems, and all these things can be negotiated and considered in your offer to purchase or your due diligence repair requests. I just didn't know. So don't get me wrong, I'm thrilled. It all worked out the way it did, but I was very lucky. Now, in 2012, I had decided to take a little career break, a midway retirement break, as you could say, or a walkabout, kind of eat, pray, love style. I had reached a ceiling in my current career in the outdoor industry, and I needed a change. So I decided to quit my job, sell my stuff, rent out my house, and travel to India to learn yoga and meditation and spend some time in the Himalayas just Along the way, I learned and I grew and I quieted my mind and I discovered my true essence, my values, and aligned with my highest and best self. I also met a man from Liechtenstein, and we got married and we had 2 kids who were born in Switzerland. And after living there for 5 years next to his parents in the Swiss Alps, I was really missing Asheville. The people, the rivers, the music and art, and the biscuits, the food. They don't have biscuits in Liechtenstein, but they do have lots of really good cheese. So once again, I was on the search for a home in Asheville, but this time I was searching from Liechtenstein. And thank goodness for the internet. But the very first thing I did this time is hire a realtor to be my boots on the ground, my eyes and ears, and the expert in the current Asheville market. There was no way I could do this without her. But as I think back on her experience, I probably drove her a little insane. She toured so many homes for me and made so many videos and sent them over. I, like most buyers who are starting out on a new search, I thought I knew what I wanted, but then when it came down to it, I actually was a little bit more flexible than I anticipated and needed her guidance and help to kind of narrow down my big ideas. Because we were trying to buy a home from another country, some sellers were not open to accepting offers from us because it would be more risky for them than accepting an offer from a client that had actually seen the property. It was a little bit different of a market then because it was pre-COVID. Now we're totally used to that. We have so many things, that have shifted since that time. We even have a sight unseen addendum that we include most of the time to let the sellers know that the buyers have not actually seen the property. They've just seen video and have some recommendations from us. So we searched and we searched for months, making offers and not getting any of them accepted. We were either too late or too low in a multiple offer situation or rejected because we were not physically there. So I had an idea. I decided to post in this mamas group on Facebook called Asheville Mamas. And I just said who we are, we're a family, and we're looking for a house that would be great for us. We're moving from another country. We haven't had a lot of luck at all so far, and we're feeling a little discouraged. In case, someone has an idea or knew of a property that might be coming up soon on the market. And I just said, hey, here's who we are. Can you help? Do you have any ideas? That very night, I received a message from a woman saying, I talked to my husband last night and we decided that we're going to put our home on the market. And she's like, it's in a great neighborhood and it's really nice. It needs some updates, but hey, they had not yet hired a realtor to list it. So my realtor was able to act on my behalf, exercising all my fiduciary duties for me, but also do the paperwork, be a paper pusher for the other side, the sellers, to make it easier. And that way they didn't have to pay for a listing agent. This is not a normal way to go about things, but it can work. And so we ended up splitting her fee because she helped us both. And they got a pretty good deal on it. So I worked with the seller a lot individually, which is not always the best policy and probably made it a little hard on my realtor. Sorry. And then, so the seller would send me videos and photos of the home and, think projects they're working on and things like that. And then we negotiated back and forth through my realtor and we were able to come to an agreement on repairs. I am absolutely thrilled with what we ended up with. Our house has undergone a lot of different changes, but we love our location and it's the perfect place with nature all around it. There's a river nearby and trails for walking, but it's only 10 minutes from downtown Asheville and it's on a cul-de-sac. It's our little slice of heaven, and I would never consider not having representation in that process. As a buyer, I can think of very few reasons why you wouldn't hire someone to represent you in a large transaction like this. I mean, if you were in litigation, you were being sued, you would not think twice about hiring a lawyer. And if you wanted a new roof, I doubt you're going to go up there and start roofing yourself. You would absolutely hire a professional. And you hire someone probably to manage your 401k as a financial advisor, or you hire someone to help you when you're sick. There's so many moving parts to getting you from the search to the closing table. It is of the utmost importance to have a professional on your team. And a bonus to the story is a year ago, I moved my parents here from Kentucky. We looked at one house. They fell in love. It just happened to be the perfect place for them. On one level, with a beautiful mountain view and a wonderful community of seniors. They live about 8 minutes away from us. And it's not officially a 55 plus community. It just so happens to be that most of the people there are in their later years. They have a lively group of enthusiastic people and a small pool and potlucks, and they sing karaoke and celebrate holidays together, and they just have a great time. But in my research for them, I learned a lot about 55 plus communities and the social scenes behind them, and it's been a hoot to say the least. There are so many different ways to find your happy place in Asheville. With the use of technology and video and market knowledge and research and a professional, it's absolutely possible to get a really good feel of the area and of a particular home. I have been people's ears and noses and eyes on many occasions when scoping out different areas, and I've sold many houses where people have never set foot in them and they're still thrilled. So it is possible. I know it can be a little scary, but it's totally possible. You have to have a little bit of faith in the process, but it absolutely can work. And if that's too much for you, there's other options. You know, you can always come to town and rent a furnished finder, check out that website, or get an Airbnb short-term rental and stay for a while so you can personally make it your mission to go and tour all these homes in an allotted period of time. This is just my experience, and it's always worked out so far. So if you have any questions about moving to Asheville, or if you're considering it at all, please feel free to reach out to us. That's what we're here for. We promise to follow up with you and answer any questions that we possibly can. So text us or email us or give us a call. It's our absolute pleasure to do this. So don't ever feel like you're bugging us, because you're not. We do it every single day. And if you want to keep up with us and follow us and be part of a community, hit that subscribe button and click that bell so that you can be alerted every time we make a new video for you. Okay, greetings from Asheville. Ciao for now.